And tackling shadow fleet, pressuring them with sanctions and everything else is very important. And going to the third point, we will have NATO summit in Ankara. Estonia is well prepared. Our defense expenditure is 5.4%, which is, I would say, the best we can do, and top country also in NATO. And this is a necessity, not something just to look at, because if you have a neighbor which is aggressor, which has a dictator in power, then you need this kind of action. So for us, Jeff and the allies here are with utmost importance. We have warm and good relations with them, and for us this kind of close engagement and good talks between partners is very important, and against also our common enemy. So thank you. If you have questions, I can answer. Yeah.
What can the Czech countries further do to block Russia's shadow fleet?
We have already done a lot, because to be honest, when we started the discussion about shadow fleet, I can remember that even in Estonia we had this kind of discussion on the political field, that should we be this aggressive towards Russia, because this is the money, and you have this kind of ability to this kind of open seas principles and so on. But right now I would say that, for example, when we look to Finns, and Finns are quite good at it, Swedes, even Belgium, France, UK has made the decisions. So the first one is intent, and the intent in CHEF countries is there. If you talk about it, about shadow fleet, everybody gets on board. This is the first thing. And second thing is to have capability, because I don't know if it's a correct number. I'm referring to AI, which is quite modern thing, I know. But according to AI, average length of shadow fleet ship is about, not ship, but journey is about 3,000 to 5,000 miles on the sea. So you have a long distance to intercept, not Russia all the way. So all the countries involved here can do that. And we have also capabilities, and also in European Union and the different kind of partnerships, we can pressure every country that gives the flags to this kind of shadow fleet ships and so on. So we have the ability, and I would say that the first thing was the shadow fleet and also Russian assets. The next one, which we are also proposing in European Union, is the combatants, because, for example, Russian fighters coming to European Union, this will be the next big thing to pressure Russia on. Thank you.
There are lots of ships from the shadow fleet now in the Bay of Finland. They come to Oslo and Primors. Is this like a momentum? Could anything be done now?
To be honest, it's a big question for everybody around the Baltic Sea and on the way, because as in Primorsk and Ust-Luga, as much as we know, a lot of harm has been done. They are not capable of pumping everything they were able to do right now, and there's a big question: will ships pile up in our sea, and what will we do? So this probably will be among the topics to discuss today. What can we do? Thank you.
Many Ukrainians have said that Russia has lost all their strategic goals in Ukraine war. But it's also possible that we are not seeing Ukraine winning the war either. How should Europe or this area be ready for that kind of scenario?
No, I would say that we can go back many years. It's already fifth year war is ongoing. And you can remember Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin saying that this will be 3-day special operation. It hasn't been a 3-day special operation, not even close. And I would say right now, if you are looking at Ukrainians, and we are constantly talking to them, they are in fighting spirit. They say that they can manage, they can hold on with European support. Yes, they need money, they need weaponry, assistance, backing, and also the future in European Union, which to me is quite obvious. So I would say that we should keep the pressure on Russia, assist Ukraine. That probably will get us to just a lasting peace, not the scenarios which are not unlikable to us. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. It's great to be here in Helsinki. We in Iceland have obviously benefited a lot and been very happy with the GEF coordination. We see an increased focus now on the Arctic, the North Atlantic. This is something that we've wanted to see and are looking forward to having good and fruitful conversations today. And with that, I'll just take some questions.
Dear Prime Minister, Iceland does not have army at the moment. Are you considering to establish some kind of defense forces in the future and join in the European Union as well?
I don't see it in the foreseeable future that we will have an active military. Our defenses have, from the beginning of time, been based on our cooperation, for example, with the US military. We have a bilateral defense agreement. We joined NATO based on that communication and that cooperation. But we obviously need to make sure that we're doing our utmost to be a good host nation, to have the logistical and infrastructure capabilities so we can be a good ally for our NATO allies. So our biggest focus when it comes to military expenditure has been to make sure that our airbase, our Keflavik Air Base is strong, that we have good facilities for air policing. So we see Iceland more as a hub, as a structure to be useful in that regard. And we're very focused on the fact that we're basically not spending money on capabilities that don't work to the advantage of the alliance. So I don't see that changing in the foreseeable future, but we're still spending quite a lot and much more than we did before on defense capabilities, but it's more host nation supported. When it comes to the EU, yes, we have a referendum at the end of the summer. I want to be clear, it's a referendum on whether we should open talks with the EU, not about joining the EU, but this is still a big question for the Icelandic public. We have actually, and we saw this also during the first administration of Trump, but even further now, despite maybe the political developments that you might be seeing towards Europe, we see more focused, if anything, on Iceland. Our communication and work with them has been very good. We've seen increased focus in general on Iceland, and we've been stepping up our capabilities when it comes to working with them. So at that sort of practical level, we haven't seen any change, and if anything, a better operational relationship between the two countries.
You're having today discussions with the Canadian Prime Minister. Are you hoping to see more dialogue or cooperation with Canada on GEF also when it comes to Arctic security?
I think it would be very important. I think there's always, at least since Iceland joined GEF, been this discussion of whether GEF should be bigger, who should, be in GEF, and I think there's a balance that needs to be found, because you don't want too many structures within NATO, because NATO is obviously very functional. I think for a country like Iceland, Canada is very important. We are neighbors when it comes to the Arctic. We are neighbors when it comes to the US. We are neighbors when it comes to Russia. So I think it's positive to have Canada with us in that cooperation. Whether they're full members of a GEF is a bigger discussion, but this GEF Plus has worked very well for us. Okay, thank you.
Hello everyone, it's very good to be here, my fourth week in office as the Dutch Prime Minister. The GEF is a very important platform for us to work closely together with our allies to protect the northern part of Europe, to step up our joint cooperation on security, and that is of utmost importance in these challenging times where we see hybrid and physical threats from Russia, the Russian aggression continuing in Ukraine as the biggest threat for European security, but obviously also other geopolitical challenges all around the world that are affecting the European security and economy. And we have obviously the NATO as our most important alliance for our safety, but this JET platform is very crucial to increase the European cooperation and the European pillar within NATO. So I'm looking forward to the discussions ahead.
Dear Prime Minister, you are new at your post. What is your message to Russia and Mr. Vladimir Putin? And what is your government's Ukraine policy? Will the Netherlands deploy more weapons to Ukraine?
We are very clear on Ukraine. We will continue our support for our Ukrainian friends, both financially, military and non-military, as long as the Russian aggression against Ukraine continues. And the Netherlands works closely together with all allies to make sure that Zelensky and his troops can continue to fight, and that in the end, if a peace deal is negotiated, it will be a peace deal that is acceptable for the Ukrainian people, and we will do whatever we can to support the implementation of that peace deal.
We are here with the Polish state TV. The question for us is Poland is a growing military force within the NATO alliance. How would you see us potentially joining that?
I was very lucky to visit Warsaw in my second week in office, and I had a very good conversation with Prime Minister Tusk. The Netherlands is proud to support Poland in protecting the eastern flank of the NATO area and the European Union, and I'm very much impressed by all the work that Poland has been doing over the past years to really step up its defense, and we can learn a lot from that. Poland plays an important role in the EU and in NATO, and I'm very much a fan of this JEF Plus platform. So unfortunately, Donald Tusk wasn't able to join us here today, but I'm looking forward to have him at this table as soon as possible.
Mr. Prime Minister, how do you see Ukraine's air defense capabilities right now? The Iran war has demanded a lot of American defensive missiles now being brought to the Middle East. So does Europe need to step up also deliveries of missiles for Ukraine?
Obviously, the war with Iran and a bigger escalation in the Middle East is a threat for Ukraine, because we are spending so much now in the Middle East, a lot of heavy equipment that would have been better fit for the Ukrainian protection. On the other hand, you now see that the Ukrainian army over the past 4 years has been one of the most sophisticated ones in the world, with a lot of knowledge on, for example, drone interception. So we can all team up with Ukraine to make sure that the production of drones is increased, both for the employment in the Middle East and Ukraine. And obviously we're trying to pull together resources to have more deliveries to Ukraine also for this year. They survived a very harsh winter, but we've got to make sure that they can also survive next winter. I think all countries should do several things. Make sure that we implement all the sanctions that are in place, not any easing of sanctions against the Russian Federation, because these sanctions are hitting them very hard. We've got to make sure that this continues. The Shadow Fleet is for them a way to avoid sanctions, and the Netherlands is, together with other countries, now setting next steps to make sure that we can intervene in this Shadow Fleet. It is difficult to improve legislation, but within the current legislation, there is a lot of more that we can do. So we're working closely with that, with the UK, with Belgium, with France, and others. So I expect in the weeks and months to come more interventions in the Russian Shadow Fleet.
Donald Trump has been calling the European allies to join and help in the Strait of Hormuz to be open. Do you see any kind of role for European states or for Netherlands?
The war in the Middle East is impacting the whole world, so a quick de-escalation would benefit us all. So we're calling upon the Iranians to stop the attacks on energy infrastructure in the region. We are now, together with France, protecting Cyprus and the Eastern Mediterranean, and we will look into any other mission in the Strait of Hormuz, but only after hostilities have stopped, with a clear international mandate and with one goal: to open up the Strait of Hormuz for the international trade, not only for Europe but also for the global south. Thank you very much.
Good morning. As the President of Lithuania, I will comment shortly the issues looking from the Lithuanian angle. First of all, about the war in Ukraine. This is already the 5th year of the war in Ukraine. And despite the efforts of United States administration and despite the efforts of international community, unfortunately, we do not see the resolution of this crisis because of This is regretful that we were not able to take the decision in the last European Council regarding the 90 billion euros. The principal political decision has been done in December of last year, and all countries at the table agreed that practically we can proceed, but now looking to the implementation of this decision, I see the problems. I hope that there will be resolution of the problem somehow in one or another form, because Ukraine critically needs that financial resources, not only for military equipment, but also for macroeconomic stabilization. Now, a few words about JEF. We highly value the activities of Joint Expeditionary Force. And I remember already many meetings in the past about coming threats, about hybrid conventional threats in the region. And this is always good to discuss the issues with like-minded countries, which understand very well the nature of these risks coming. And even now, as we speak, we have some attacks, hybrid attacks in the Baltic countries. You probably know very well that the drones have crashed and exploded in Lithuania, in Latvia and Estonia. For Lithuania, I can confirm that it was a drone of Ukrainian origin dedicated to attack Primorsk oil terminal, but then the drone diverted from the initial route and crashed in the territory of, on the soil of Lithuania. Of course, those threats are dangerous. Of course, they create a lot of uncertainties and nervousness in the community, in the society. And we have to talk about strengthening of our defense, air defense systems. During the peacetime, air policing regime was okay, but now we see that threats are becoming more and more severe, and we have to run faster and more decisive in order to tackle those issues, and first of all by building the detection systems and by building the capabilities to destroy these drones, or no matter what other kind of unmanned systems. So thank you. I'm ready to answer your questions.
You see a way around Hungary because on the Russian frozen assets, and if you have any comments on Hungary stopping the delivery of gas ship?
Well, unfortunately, so far these relations between Hungary and Ukraine are developing not to the right direction. I think one of the explanations is, of course, a hot period of electional period, but I hope that we will be able to find the solutions, because we need those solutions, and not necessarily talking about the frozen assets, because the problems to find the decision on the frozen assets were not related only to Hungary, but also to other countries. But yes, I agree that we have more problems, first of all, about the opening of negotiation clusters with Ukraine, again, because of resistance of Hungary to proceed. So we need those solutions. We have to find the creative solutions, maybe by front-loading the technical work and front-loading the negotiations. And then, at the final stage, of course, the decision about the membership of new countries should be taken by unanimity and also by the decision of all countries.
What's your opinion about the overall picture of the war in Ukraine? Is Ukraine winning, as President Stubb has said, or too optimistic?
One thing is clear, that the expectations of Russian Federation to break the resistance of brave Ukrainian people failed, entirely failed. And of course, there are moments when Russians are maybe a little bit more successful, but in general, taking into account how long is this war and how small are the wins of Russian Federation, how small are the territories they were able to conquer, and how big are the losses they are suffering every day. I think Ukraine is prevailing, and Ukraine is really bravely implementing all the new technologies. They are using all the methods of modern warfare, and I think they are very successful in that. And this is probably one more factor we should take the advantage on. We have to use the experience of Ukraine, which was collected during the last years, and to use and to apply this experience by building and strengthening our air defense and building and strengthening our armed forces. And I am talking now not only about my country, but also about European Union in general. Thank you.